probably shouldn't start out a recipe video with I've never made this before, but it's cold, I'm sick, so we are gonna make some Italian wedding soup today. Alright, we're gonna get started with the meatballs first, but before we actually get to making them, we need to prep our parsley. So right here, I'm just lining up all the leaves of the parsley so that the leaves and the stems separate at the same point. So I can just make one cut through all of them. And you don't really need the stems, so you can just toss those to the side for now. But now we're gonna roll up the leaves so that they hold together when you cut them and you're not trying to fight 50 different leaves at the same time. So just hold all the leaves together with one hand and cut with the other. Then you're just gonna run your knife a few more times throughout the leaves, making this dice a little bit smaller. Now for the meat, typically it's 1.5 pounds of meat for this recipe. It's usually a 50-50 mix of beef and pork, but I'm trying to cut down on the fat, so I'm just using some lean ground beef here. Again, it's about 1.5 pounds. If you were using pork, it'd be 3/4 pound for both. So to this bowl, I'm gonna add in the beef, the parsley we just chopped, 2 eggs, some Parmesan, about 1/2 cup, some milk, also about 1/2 cup, and breadcrumbs, also about 1/2 cup. You can kind of eyeball this stuff, to be honest. The only thing I will say is that it's better to go a little bit less on the milk than a little bit too much, because you get a weird texture with too much milk. To season these, we're going with a generous amount of salt and pepper, garlic and onion, Italian herbs, and paprika. These meatballs can take a lot of seasoning, so don't be shy with these. I promise it'll be okay. Then you're going to mix these up with a claw-shaped hand. Just squeeze and twist over and over, and make sure you scrape the sides of the bowl every so often to make sure everything is getting wiped down and incorporated. You don't want to overmix these, you just want to get to a point where everything is nicely combined. Now to roll these out, it will help if they're a little bit cold, otherwise the fat might start rendering into your hand and it'll kind of be messy, but as long as you're quick, it won't really be that much of an issue. But just take a pinch and pull it out and then start mixing it in between your hands. I went with about golf-sized pieces. I recommend going a little bit smaller. I actually wish that I went a little bit smaller on these, but I always make the meatballs too big for some reason. Just think about, you're probably going to be eating these in one bite. So you don't want these to be like awkward to fit into your mouth, but you don't want them to be so small that they're not really noticeable, right? You want them to stand out but not be overwhelming. And also just make sure that the meatballs are holding their shape when you're done rolling them. You don't want them to fall apart while they're cooking. It's a mess. You don't want to deal with it. We're going to use one pan to cook everything, and we're going with pretty much a Dutch oven, just something tall and wide, and it has a lid, okay? We're just going to set that on medium heat or medium high heat, depending on how strong your stove is, and let that preheat while we make our mirepoix for the soup. So I've already used this onion, it's left over, which is why the root and the tip is cut off, but the root is still intact with the onion. So we're going to cut towards the root, but not quite at the root, keeping it intact. Turn it 90 degrees, make 2 horizontal slices, again, not quite towards the root, but almost there, and then you can just chop downwards as big or as small as you like. Once you get to the root, then you can just make vertical slashes like this, and then run your knife again once or twice through it just to dice it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just gotta be roughly the same size. Then to save dishes, we're going back in the bowl where our meatballs were in. Don't worry, this is all gonna get cooked, so it's fine. And then we're gonna start with our celery. Now, celery at the base is really dirty sometimes. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a bunch of dirt along the white fibrous base of this. So we're just gonna give it a quick rinse. It comes right off with water. And now you can see they're nice and clean and ready to use. To prepare these, we're going to take off the ends because they're just not a good texture. Strip off the little leaves and then cut off this little awkward part just to make sure it all can lay on the cutting board stable and easy. And you're just gonna make a medium dice throughout the entire celery stalk. Go ahead and add these into your bowl with the onions, and now carrots. These are leftover carrots from spring rolls I made the other day, which is why they're thinly cut. I'm just gonna give these a rough chop and add them to the bowl. It's not going to change the flavor, it's just going to change the texture. If you were using whole carrots, you should use 2 whole carrots. We're looking for a 2-1-1 ratio onion, celery, carrots. To sear the meatballs, we're going in with almost the entire bottom of the pan with oil. Once that starts smoking, you can start adding your balls in one by one. We don't want to overcrowd the pan here because we don't want the heat to be taken away too much. And after about a few minutes of searing on this side, you should be able to roll them around and hopefully they'll be golden brown. Mine are a little bit more brown than golden brown, but that's alright. From here, just cook them the same amount of time on the other side. They shouldn't be fully done at this point. Remember, we're just getting a nice color on them, just like this. Once they're seared on both sides and looking good, just take them out and set them to the side and repeat with the rest of your meatballs. Keeping the same pan, turn down the heat a little bit and add your mirepoix in. Then we're going to mix everything together to coat the veggies in this beautiful oil we just made with the meatballs. While you're waiting for these veggies to soften up a little bit, go ahead and prep your garlic now. We need about 8 cloves of garlic, give or take. Just give all of them a nice smash with the back of your knife in your hand, and the skin should be able to just peel right off. Once you've got all of your garlic peeled, go ahead and give everything a nice rough dice. It doesn't have to be perfect, the garlic will shrink as it cooks. You just don't want to bite into a big chunk of garlic. But once you've got all of your garlic diced, just add it to the pan and stir it until it gets nice and fragrant. It should be about 3 to 5 minutes. While our veggies are cooking down, we're going to start our stock. Now, I don't like the box stuff. What I do like is this better than bouillon chicken, like stock paste almost. It's cheaper and I think it tastes better than the box stuff. The recipe calls for 3 cups of beef and 3 cups of chicken stock. In this bowl, I've got 6 cups of water. I'm going in with almost a tablespoon of both. The exact ratio is 1 teaspoon to 1 cup of water, but just eyeball what you think 3 teaspoons would look like. Before we add the stock, we're adding about 6 bay leaves. I like to add a lot of these because they don't really have that much flavor when they're not fresh. And then you're going to mix all of your stock in. Then you're going to add in about a cup of orzo pasta, and you're going to stir everything around, cover, and let it simmer for about 5 minutes. After about 5 minutes of simmering, we're going to throw in our meatballs. And once again, cover and simmer for another 5 minutes. While this is simmering, we're going to get our spinach prepped. I've got 3 big handfuls of spinach. You don't really need to chop these, but I wanted to. Just a few rough chops here and there to separate out the leaves. Nothing too crazy. Again, completely optional. The spinach is mainly there for just texture, so chop it how you want, however you want the texture to be. After about 5 minutes, our soup has thickened up thanks to the starch in the pasta, and now we are good to go to add our spinach. Don't worry about overfilling the pot too much. The spinach is gonna cook down so much that it'll basically take up no volume whatsoever, so you can stuff this as much as you want. After 5 more minutes of simmering, just mix everything around, get everything evenly distributed, and then you're ready to serve. Do take out the bay leaves once you're ready to serve. Biting on one of those is not fun. But this soup is rich, savory, warm. There's so many nice textures, so many different flavors. It's just so good. I'm telling you guys, this stuff is so good and comforting. It hit a comfort food spot that I needed to hit for so long. And if you made it this far, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys next time.